particle accelerators are bad enough. But in space? NERDSoul. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people, today? Oh yeah, we coming with another wonderful episode of That's Right, movie reviews. I'm not gonna waste any time. It's been a lot of fun. A couple of you guys have messaged me, so it's time to talk about, of course, the Cloverfield Paradox. And this will be a spoiler, so if you haven't seen it yet, and it's on Netflix right now, so you can watch it all you want. But, of course, if you have not seen it, go watch it first because I'm going to talk about it. There's a couple of things that I thought were really cool that I just wanted to touch on before I move on because people want to know what I'm feeling. And I want to know what you guys are feeling too. So instead of just hitting me up in the DMs, I figured we can make a video and we can talk down in the comments. So the first thing I love is Goo Goo. That's right, old girl is in this movie once again. It seems like, you know, J.J. Abrams really digs her talent. I dig her talent. She's really dope. She's an amazing actress, and she brings it in this movie. And that is straight up indicative of everyone else, because you got David Oyelowo in this joint. Like, this movie is not playing. Like, all the actors sell this, and that's what makes this movie really good for me. Like, this movie could easily have been corny, but the actors play it straight, and they let us know we're in a lot of danger. And the danger, of course, is because we have the Earth, they're running out of energy and all that stuff. And when you put yourself in a position where they fire off this accelerator and they're already kind of like desperate and they disappear and they can't find Earth, they can't find themselves and weird stuff starts popping off, it's the dope acting that really sells it and makes you worried for this crew because you don't know why anything happens, what's happening, where it's coming from, all of that jazz. And it really it helps sell it so well, especially as a part of this whole Cloverfield like lore and mythos. It really brings it home to something that just works very well separately and also as part of the rest of these films that really are just straight dope. Now, back to Ava's character, I did want to just touch on the idea of a long distance relationship. Like me, myself, I was in a long distance relationship, but she was in a relationship with someone who was on Earth and she was, of course, in space. Now that's a whole nother level. Now, guys, holler at me down in the comments. Let me know what you think, but that's a little bit too much distance. Like, I mean, you can still see someone, say, on the holidays or something, but when you're in space, that's it, man. And especially you messing around with the God particles and stuff, and you saw the interview. The interview to do was like, look, if we keep messing with this power, we can open up doorways and stuff. And of course they did, but we can open up doorways, weird things gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna go on. And next thing you know, here you go falling out the sky and you dead and everybody dead and monsters out. And see what happens? What happened? Monsters came out. So that's why, look, if you're in a relationship and don't go to space, you can't go to space, just letting you know, it's not a good idea. But back to the movie, this brings a lot of emotion out of her. And a lot of emotion out of her husband, which I didn't expect to be an interesting part of the film. And I even worried, why do we keep going back to this dude? But of course, at the end, we find out why. But I'm like, why do we keep going back to this dude? Like, what's so important? I mean, yes, of course, stuff going on Earth, but why? But he helped sell it, man. And they shoot it in a way, a very clever way, where you don't know until the very end. But let's talk about the news broadcast and the world that they're in as a whole, which really helps sell this whole, like, the world is out of oil. The world is out of energy. The world is kind of trying to figure out who are the main players now that energy is gone. Who is gonna win the oil wars and all this stuff? And how are the day-to-day people gonna fall through the cracks and where do they end up? And when you think about situations like that, it just adds to the tension. And it's crazy to just imagine that. I mean, of course, we could, I don't know about the monster part, possible, but the oil part is actually very possible, man. It makes you a little scared for real life. Like, yo, man, could, you know, Russia and Germany and all this stuff really happen? Like, there's some crazy mess going on. Now, sitting that down for a moment, to the movie's credit, because I'm going to say a couple things that I don't like, but to its credit, I do like Tam's character because she's a lady who only speaks, well, she seems like she only speaks Mandarin, but she does say a couple of English words. So I don't know if she just prefers Mandarin, but I do like having a character where they don't speak or they only speak one language. I don't know, for me, it just adds another layer in there. So I thought it was kind of cool, especially when everyone had to kind of figure out how to say things for her. I thought that was interesting, and I like to see them interact with each other and then interact with her, and then seeing her respond to the rest of the group. I thought that was well played. Now, to the other dimension part, I think that this was played well, because it could have been cheesy, but they played it almost where we didn't know until the last minute, which is a good, once again, this movie is shot in a very clever way where you don't expect those different parts to come out. And then once they do get in that other dimension and the particles and everything, the time-space continuum starts matching, that's where it gets weird. And that's what I'm about to talk to in a minute. But of course, guys, we've got all the basic stuff out of the way and the main stuff. Now we're gonna talk about the weird and the fun, which is what sci-fi is about. Of course, first, Cure Brand gonna help us pay them bills. Oh yeah, that's right. Check that link below for curebrand.com. Hats, shirts, hoodies, all that. And once you find something you like, cop it. So now that we got the main stuff out the way, they fired off that particle. They've been up there for 2 years. They finally disappeared. They can't find Earth. They don't know where they at. They find that they just lost in space to a certain degree. That's when it gets weird. And you know how I say science fiction should be weird? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, having people show up in walls, having a guy's arm getting ate off and like not even feeling it, having that said arm show up later, kind of moving on its own, having eyeballs moving for no reason, having gyros and worms and all kinds of, this is the weirdness that I enjoy. This is the weirdness that I have to say, guys, all the crew that put this together, thank you. Because this is what sci-fi should be. It should be weird to a certain degree, and it should be very intense, because we're in space and we don't know where we're at. So we don't know what to do. Because usually, you can get back to space, and if you're lost, hey, we can go back to Earth. But in this case, Earth is gone. So now, where are they gonna go? They're kind of trapped and they don't know what to do. But of course, once they go through the crazy, they start to settle and find out, of course, hey, we must be in another dimension. This is another Earth that we have now found. Of course, after the worms explode and we go in somebody's stomach and all that good stuff, and the nasty gooiness. But now this is the part that kind of, I don't know, it kind of hurt the story for me, because I was excited that they were lost. And now I'm like, well, I feel like the stakes aren't as high. But they did have to find their way home. And finding their way home proved to be a lot tougher than I thought it would. Now, the third act, of course, begins to be this kind of like race to beat the clock. But it's a good race to beat the clock. And I mean, I don't really have much knocks on this. David kills it, the rest of the actors kill it, Gugu kills it, and we end up in a situation where, they could all end up dead, or they could all end up actually killing a Earth on accident, because we already have kind of played that scenario and it could work. And I like how Ava and Mina ended up together to connect just for a moment emotionally, and then of course at the end at odds, figuring out how to solve this problem and which world to save. So before I will bounce, I'm gonna say that this movie is not only fly, but you should definitely see it. There's some stuff that I'm not feeling, some stuff that kind of gets on me, but straight up, this movie is solid. And I'm gonna go in and give it, even though it's a rental, because it is on Netflix, but this is solid and I like it in the Cloverfield mythos. I'm gonna go in and give this joint 4 stars. Because there was a lot of stuff that I had to wrestle and grapple with, but when you brought in that emotion of her with her children and trying to get back to them and maybe going to them anyway, even though those weren't her kids, they were the other her's kids, and whether she should just kind of stay on her own and just leave her husband back where he is, or whether they should just kill everybody on the ship. Also, the intensity of being lost, that plays extremely well. And to the things that I would knock this show over, or knock this movie over, it is, I just can't. I can't knock it when I felt what she felt when she was thinking about, her kids, thinking about her husband and all that. Yo, this movie's on point. So guys, holla at me, I'ma holla at you. Down in them comments, let's talk about the Cloverfield Paradox. I'm loving it. I really am. And I think that this movie shows that we might be dealing with 2 or 3 different versions of Earths that are intertwining and intersecting at different points in their history. And who knows what might be going on. And Cloverfield is too, look man, it's way too heady, but it's fun to watch. So before I bounce, I'm gonna tell you guys to hit up ThatNERDSoul.com. That's right, check me out right there. All my videos from the oldest, newest, latest, greatest, and all that. Then hit up shop.ThatNERDSoul.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt player. And don't forget to get one for them playettes. Then come back here, like, comment, subscribe, and share that Nerd Soul. That's right, there's no better way that I can show people that you like what you are watching. So, LA, what up? VA, what up? RVA, you got my heart, and please be good to yourselves. Please be good to each other. And remember, if there's anything like a particle accelerator in space, don't use it. Just don't use it. Peace.